here it is. It's this new update that was posted today, and it's Protocol 20, preparing for smart contracts on just that, Stellar. Now, this is cool because we've been covering the whole thing of obviously Soroban and feel as though it's a big deal. Now, getting more into this, I'm not going to get into every single little thing about this because I don't want to bore you with too many details. But like it says, this is basically nearing the moment where Stellar's public network validators will vote on whether to upgrade the network to Protocol 20, which, if accepted, will activate Soroban support on Stellar's mainnet. Cool. The goal to add smart contract capabilities to the Stellar network, of course, was launched way back in January 2022. So this has been something that's been a quality project they've been working on for quite some time, and I'm glad they didn't choose to rush it, right? Quality over quantity. But basically speaking, after 2 years of development and after 11 preview releases, the vote to launch Soroban on mainnet is at our basic doorstep. Let's talk a little bit more about this. So let's get into it. What's new in Protocol 20? Well, there's a lot, right? And here's some of the nerd stuff. I'm not going to get into all this. Project contract life cycles basically defines the structure of the smart contracts on Stellar Network. You also have, for instance, smart contract host functions. I mean, all this stuff is like dev stuff, so I'm not getting into all of it. There's even going to be a thing, and shout out to Mike Cornwell because he has wrapped Luna, right? There's going to be smart contract standardized assets that cover the built-in token contract that can also wrap existing Stellar assets. Interesting. How about this one on the far right? Soroban Authorization Framework introduces a framework which supports account abstraction. State Archival Interface introduces State Archival Interface. They kind of said that twice, but what does this mean for the Stellar network, or what does it mean for you? By adding smart contracts to support the Stellar, it drives imagination, innovation, and unlocks a myriad new possibilities for devs building on the network. The Stellar network currently supports a rich, although fixed set of transactions, making it inflexible and difficult to adapt to the ecosystem needs, but basically makes it fast-paced for blockchain landscape. Users must currently rely on protocol-level changes to implement and use features such as AMMs, which can be laborious process. But here's the key part for you. With Soroban, because we're always talking about that, Stellar developers, are empowered to do more on the network and have more room to innovate. And this doesn't take away from what the network already offers. In fact, Soroban's capabilities, coupled with Stellar's already established on-chain assets, easily leverage with Stellar Asset Contract and Global Anchor Network. So now I'm going to take you to a recent example, like a presentation straight from this guy from Anchor. And I'm going to give you a little background on this real quick. So for one, this was shared on the 9th, which was, I guess, last Thursday, but I didn't see really anybody reporting on this. It says how to use traditional payment rails with blockchain efficiently using Stellar's Anchor platform. And that sounds kind of boring, but he's going to get into why this matters even for you, right, as a retail investor. But basically, yeah, we're going to learn how to leverage the Anchor platform, an out-of-the-box solution that simplifies basically Stellar integration. It's going to reduce the development time costs while basically make it easier for devs to make their services on the global network of wallets and application in just one integration. That's big. One integration. How cool is that? So I've gone ahead and fast forwarded to the key areas that we should pay attention to. Check this out, because you should try to hear what it says here. I know a lot of you guys are talking in the chat, and that's good stuff. But if you hold Stellar, already fast forward to the key parts. Listen to this for a moment. Then you can go back to the chat, okay? Here we go.
It's a set of services that make on and off ramping to an existing and compatible ecosystem as easy as possible. And I'm saying, an existing and compatible ecosystem explicitly because you can build your own on and off ramp today. You don't need to use the Anchor platform. But what makes the Anchor platform effective and more powerful is that it's immediately going to make you compatible using Stellar's standard APIs with the existing ecosystem. And every time there's a new entrant into the ecosystem, you get to automatically be compatible. And it just really lowers the barrier to entry, amplifies those network effects. And it is really the thing that you want to do if you're trying to get off the ground with a new on and off ramp service.
This is where shares of Tesla are trading right now. And this is where Wall Street expects them to be by 2025. That's a 100% gain over the next 2 years. But thanks to this new discovery inside shares of Tesla, we can target that same 100% gain in 6 days or less. And if you click this link right here, I'll show you how you can do it this very week. Now, it's all thanks to something I call the perfect Tesla trade. And according to my research, it would have shown folks like us 23 chances to target money doubling returns this year alone.
So what is the Anchor platform? Well, at a high level, there's two primary use cases. There's deposits and withdrawals on and off Stellar, but there's also cross-border payments through Stellar. And under the hood, there's several kind of smaller modules that are enabled through this technology that you could use independently of those use cases, but they're also leveraged kind of as a part of those flows. That's receiving payments, authenticating with your Stellar account, kind of as a single sign-on feature, right? No need to have a username and password for every decentralized application or Web3 service that is being offered, right? Transaction and quote history, if you don't have a backend API and you're just a on and off ramp like with a web view, and server-side webhooks. This is all stuff that you have to build if you're building an Anchor service or an on and off ramp service. But the Anchor platform does this for you, right? And so that's the whole idea of the Anchor platform, is to do everything it can to make the business's life as easy as possible, reducing the barrier to entry and ultimately simplifying their development process and their speed to market. So from an architectural perspective, this is what the Anchor platform looks like in its most basic form. You got the client here on the left side. You have the Anchor platform in the middle, kind of acting as this middleware component, and you have a business server on the right side. Inside the Anchor platform, again, it's a set of services. So we have this like SEP server on the left side, which implements the standardized Stellar protocols that the existing ecosystem already implements, right? So all of our wallets, all of our remittance senders, they're already implementing these APIs, and that SEP server implements the APIs that they integrate with. But we, on the back end, have a platform server that offers a much more simplified interface explicitly for the business that removes a lot of the complexity and details about doing this and offering this business on Stellar. And so this is going to really help focus the business, make sure they're focusing on their given use case, making sure that they are doing what they do best, and letting the Anchor platform handle the Stellar specifics and ultimately like additional functionality, as we'll kind of get into detail here. One thing that's important to note is that by decoupling the client interfaces with the business interfaces, we're actually able to iterate faster and optimize the experiences for both parties more quickly and without impact to the other, right? So if we need to, build a new interface or add an existing or a new feature for an existing client, we can do that. We can update the SEP protocol, update the SEP server with no changes to the business. They don't have to change their code, right? They just get this feature for free by pulling down a new version of the Anchor platform. And in the reverse case, if we onboard a new business, they're interested in using the platform, but need a little bit of a tweak, we can do that, and there's no change to the SEP server. All clients can remain unchanged as well.
Okay, so I want to just kind of state something. So we know with Ripple's XRP that, for instance, this is where I guess you could say like Flare really shines, right? Because it basically enables like EVM sidechains and so on, right? We pointed this out in the past. Soroban, on the other hand, and please don't interpret this as FUD, it's just telling like it is. I'm a big fan, obviously, Ripple's XRP as well. But the cool thing about this is, like he mentions, I mean, it's pretty much instantaneous. Like, they just, boom, you're done. There's no having to access a different particular network. Getting more into this, you're going to hear terms of like compatibility instead of interoperability, which basically, to a sense, kind of makes this, is the same definition. But I'm going to jump into this next part, because if I don't, this is going to be like 2 or 3 hours long. Don't want to do that. So I want to jump into this next one. And you're going to see this guy from Flutterwave. A lot of you guys are familiar with Flutterwave. The guy's name is Jimmy Koo. He is the head of growth over at Flutterwave. I'm going to go ahead and share this for you guys as well. And here we go. So basically speaking, this part, again, it's the same video, but it's more fast forward. I'm going to play a good portion of this. And again, he gets right into the nitty gritty of why this is important, and, gives you some examples, especially when it comes to the big market potential for Africa. Gives you some figures that are very, very eye-opening, to say the least. So here we go. Let's play this.
Thanks, Jake. So, all right. As Jake mentioned, my name is Jimmy Koo. I am the head of growth for Flutterwave. Move that over. This is not the slide. Okay, well, I'll go with it. I'm going to improv. I'm fine with that. So one of the things that Jake said was the mission for Stellar, which is to provide financial inclusion. What do you guys think about that? Are the folks in this room interested in helping to achieve that mission? Cool, great, because so are we. So we at Flutterwave are very excited about this as well. That's why we are the anchor for Stellar in Africa. And what we like to say is that Africa is not one country, but we want to make it feel like one. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of different nuances across the continent. It's very difficult to navigate through all of that. But what we want to do is make it as simple as possible with one simple API. Work closely with Stellar and the Stellar team to be able to do so. So we're really excited about what we can do together. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Flutterwave for those who aren't familiar with us. We are Africa's largest payment infrastructure at the moment. Last year, we raised a $250 million round. We're the highest valued startup at the moment. We've done over 400 million transactions, totaling over 25 billion in total payment volume. We hope to be driving a lot of that through the Stellar ecosystem as well. We power over 1 million corporate global enterprises, so companies such as Meta, Twitter, Netflix, Uber, Microsoft, etc. And we work with all sorts of folks from SMBs, consumers, on up to the enterprises. We have now 700 global employees, so we do have folks in Africa, but we have folks all over as well. Myself, I'm based in San Francisco, so for those who visit, let me know. We're also close to the Stellar offices out there. Our mission is primarily to simplify payments for endless possibilities. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the endless possibilities that we're working on and some of the possibilities going forward as well. Now, one of the key things is we're focused primarily on Africa, and there's tremendous growth opportunities across Africa, and I'm head of growth for Flutterwave, so this is kind of what I'm keying in on. But there's a couple of things to just kind of highlight what's going on across the continent and why it's really interesting. If you guys are interested in more, I'm happy to chat with you more about that. But the first thing is the population growth. It's the youngest, fastest growing population, and it's going to be the workforce of the future. I think at some point there's statistics about how it's going to be half the workforce around the world. So all those people are looking for opportunities as well. There's a fast growing population. They're all getting to that stage where they're looking for opportunities and jobs and everything else. They're also moving into cities. It's urbanizing. They're getting more connected. They're on their mobile phones. They have smartphones. They're also getting wealthier. So they're spending on more services, products, and everything else. So the opportunity exists there as well. In terms of economic growth, 8 of the 10 fastest growing markets are there in Africa right now. So a lot of people are starting to look at what they can do, how they can do business. Now, you can't do business if you can't transact. If you can't collect money, if you can't send money, if you can't move money, you can't do any business. So that's really the core of what Flutterwave is doing. And the other big thing that's happening across Africa is remittances are tremendous. It's huge. 2 of the 10 largest remittance markets in the world is in Africa. It's Egypt and Nigeria. So in 2020, it was about $46 billion being spent. In 2022, it's about $48 billion. So it's growing. It's still 2 of the largest in the world. And that money transfer is a huge opportunity for everyone in this room, plus more.
I'm going to pause there for just a brief moment. For some of you guys that don't understand how huge this is, regards to Stellar. We talked about remittances. So just in case you're the type of person in which you don't know what remittances are, I mean, it's okay. I mean, you know, some guys know, some people don't. Basically speaking, remittances are a sum of money that's sent. Yes, this is the exact definition, especially by mail, in payments for goods or services or as a gift. Basically, the action of sending money in, of course, in a payment. You know, obviously, Stellar is going to be all over that like a fat kid on cake, right? What's an example of a remittance? Great question. Although a remittance can be a payment sent in response to receiving, of course, a bill or invoice, so on and so forth, is a term that's also used to describe funds sent internationally. So it would be in Stellar's best interest, right, to take any advantage they can when it comes to remittances. Or how about this, guys? Areas of the world that do more remittances compared to other areas of the world that do remittances. Perfect example would be Africa. How many times have you heard me talk about, for instance, you know, the old system, sending, for instance, you know, Western Union to your missionary aunt that is, you know, doing, you know, like a crusade or something like that over in the Congo, right? Like she totally needs it. Well, Western Union is going to probably take about 2 weeks for it to get there. Right. So Stellar and even Ripple's XRP going after the continent of Africa simply makes sense because there's a lot of opportunity there. Another example, basically, in regards to remittances, is when money is sent by someone, for instance, in the United States to family, friends in another country, they're doing just that. They're sending remittances. So bottom line for you, right, as a person that sent Western Union, it's just a form, it's just a remittance, right? That's the key thing I want you to take away. And another thing I want you to take away from this is, for instance, and I'll share this, how much a company is worth is typically represented by, of course, its market capitalization. But check this out, for example, in regards to Western Union. Did you know that as of November 10th, right, just 3 days ago, it was reported from Macro Trends that they have a net worth of $4.28 billion. For Stellar to enter into this also, of course, is huge. Stellar is obviously a lot more than just remittances and so on, but breaking into a industry that needs to, you know, be disturbed, if you will, is game changer, and Stellar is recognizing that. Now, this guy's going to give you some more examples. I think it's really, really good examples, and I want you to see this. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back to this tab, and let's play a little bit more about this. But again, look where it says Africa has has two of the top 10 remittances corridors globally. Crazy stuff. All right, let's play this.
But not only is there a lot of money being moved, in sub-Saharan Africa, there's a lot as well. So, you know, Egypt and Nigeria being the top two, but across all of sub-Saharan Africa, we're talking about now over 51 billion overall. Nigeria, of course, trumps everything else. The next few, Ghana, Kenya, Senegal are important ones as well. And so there's several markets that are actually very, very important when it comes to remittances. And most importantly, remittances are incredibly important for the lifeline of the people living there. If you look at the GDP and how much the remittances contribute to GDP, South Sudan, for example, 34% of GDP is remittances. I mean, that's incredible, right? Now, across all of Africa, it's around 2 to 3%, but the money being sent from around the world into Africa is impacting over 200 million people. So there's a tremendous opportunity, a lot of money impacting a lot of people, and it's a big part of the GDP. Now, here's a big part of the problem. It's also the most expensive corridor in the world. On average, it's costing about 8.7%. So what does problem equal? We have a solution, which is not that. Working together between kind of Stellar and Flutterwave to provide access, to move money easier, to decrease costs, to make it much more efficient, to provide 24/7 capabilities. And that's really why we're working with the Anchor platform, what we're doing together. We're really excited about all the things that we're working on together to provide that. A lot of logos on that wall over there, several of them in this room as well. So we're working with a lot of folks. So what are we doing on the Anchor platform? On a high level, we have kind of the other anchor. It's not a merchant. We call it a merchant, but it's basically the on-ramping anchor. So there's a money transfer anchor that wants to move money into Africa. They are able to then get their customers to move money into USDC. We're transacting on Stellar. And what we've been able to do with the Anchor protocol is now, not only can you get the exchange rates and information for all of our supported currencies across Africa, when we do the exchange between USDC and USDC on Stellar, we take that information and then we are able to then make the exchange based on the exchange rate that was given and do the payouts across Africa to 32 countries in Africa into bank accounts, into mobile wallets, and allow for that money to be paid out across Africa. So that's what we're working on together. If anyone's excited to be on the SEP31 protocol and work with us on that, of course, we're excited to talk to you more about that. We are also going to be releasing SEP24 capabilities as well for a lot of the fintechs that we've talked to about enabling that. That's in the works. We'll be ready for that as soon as possible. So at the end of the day, what we're really excited about is to change the way the world does business with Africa. So if anyone's interested in chatting more about that, let me know. And I'm ready to pass it along to Heinrich. Thanks, sir.
All right, so one of the comments to see is from Mr. Dinu, aka Dinji. I like how I made that backwards. He states, so is Stellar using its token or just passing the USD in and out? That's a great question. And, from the diagram that was used on the example, most of us would probably look at it and say, well, it's just, USDC in and out. So, what you said, that would be yes. How does that affect, for instance, XLM? My answer would be pairings, right? People sometimes forget about all that. Pairings, USDC, for instance, with XLM and so on, would simply make sense. You're not going to buy just, for instance, USDC. I guess you could, basically buy itself and so on, but it would make more sense with the pairings. And to see this being utilized in this area of the world, obviously Africa, and all the examples that were used, it's a big opportunity for Stellar. I think they're seizing that opportunity, and obviously Ripple's seizing that opportunity as well. This is another good comment from GG. Stellar isn't just using XLM, it's using USDC, and XLM is just used for fees. But think about what GG said. XLM is just used for fees. Well, let's use that example and apply it towards Ethereum. Ethereum used for the fees. Look how that turned out, right? It is utility in motion. It's a bad example of utility in motion because that's an expensive example of utility in motion, but it is utility in motion. XLM is far more cheaper in regards to gas fees compared to Ethereum. So I guess we could use that as a good example, right? All worth pointing out. Still feel very, very bullish on the whole thing. And obviously you see the examples of Ripple, Stellar, basically going heavy into Africa, and rightfully so. I mean, if you get reports of, hey, you're getting more volume in these particular countries in this continent compared to other countries or areas, right? You want to focus a lot of your energy in some of these areas. I mean, it's just a no-brainer.